So in today's video, I want to talk about how to transition from a bulking phase to a cutting phase. How you were in a surplus and now you want to go into deficit and you want to help preserve muscle because that's the main concern. And that's the biggest concern and biggest risk whenever you're going into a caloric deficit, losing the hard-earned muscle mass that you worked so hard to build. Through several weeks and several months, you were busting your ass in the gym to stimulate muscle, to build muscle, to fuel your body with protein and carbs, to really maximize and pack in as much muscle throughout the entire part of your body. And now you're going to cut, and you want to preserve that muscle mass as much as you possibly can, because gaining it back can be very difficult. So what do you do? So if you were in a surplus and you want to go into a deficit, one key component is, number one, you have to continue with your weight training program. By continuing with the program, continuing to stimulate the muscle, and continuing to feed your body with protein, you're going to preserve muscle mass. However, if you are in a deficit, you want to bump up more of the percentage of your calories coming from protein. For instance, if you typically, when you were bulking, getting 30% of your calories from protein, but now you're cutting, you want to bump that up to 40 or even closer to 50%, maybe 45% of your calories. The contribution of that should come from protein because now you are in a caloric deficit. Because, on your maintenance level, you bumped it up to 300, and now you're going to go maybe 300 below maintenance to cut and to lose the fat. Now, be forewarned, you are going to lose some muscle mass while cutting. Okay, that's just going to happen. But by stimulating the muscle, by doing compound exercises, which is the exercises that I personally suggest that you do to try to keep as much muscle mass as you can, you're going to prevent that from happening to the greatest extent possible, because you don't want to go into muscle catabolism during an aggressive fat loss. And by doing compound lifts, you're going to preserve a lot of muscle, because compound lifts, they stimulate a lot of different muscles simultaneously. You're working a lot of different muscle groups versus, let's say, isolation exercise like a barbell curl or a dumbbell curl or a tricep push down, where you're just doing an exercise to target one specific muscle group, versus compound exercises will stimulate many muscle groups. For instance, deadlift. You're going to stimulate your entire posterior chain, all the way from your calves, your quads, your spinal erectors, your lats, your traps, even your forearms and your grip strength. And just look at all those muscles that you're stimulating just by one exercise alone. That's why compound exercises like deadlifts, squats, pull-ups, weighted pull-ups if you can do it, dips, weighted dips if you could do that, and also bench press, flat bench press, incline bench press, and getting to failure. And in my last video, I talked about getting to failure, and prior to that, the mind-muscle connection is keeping on the same principles of controlling the weight on the eccentric and the concentric phases, on the positive and the negative. But now that you're in a caloric deficit, to transition into that, adding more protein to your diet and reducing a little bit of the carbs, and definitely reducing a lot of the fats, because as you know, for every 1 gram of fat, you're going to consume 9 calories of energy. So you have to be very, very mindful of that as well. And also, you're going to have low glycogen stores when you're cutting, because let's face it, when you're bulking, you took in a lot of carbs. When you're cutting, you're going to get less carbs, less fats, but you want to bump up the protein. So there has to be a compromise here. If fats and carbs go down, then that means you have to increase the protein to maintain that certain level of calories while still in a cut. And that's going to help you recover, and your glycogen stores are going to be low. Because it's going to be low, yes, your ability to lift the same amount of weight when you were bulking is going to go down. And that's normal. It's nothing to be feared. It's nothing to be concerned about or upset about. You might think, oh, I'm getting weaker. Well, that's because you're eating less energy. You're consuming less energy. Of course you're going to be weaker. You're not going to have that energy. And you're trying to tap into your fat stores. By depriving yourself and reducing your caloric intake, yes, you are forcing your body to go into those fat stores. And essentially, that's one way your body can burn fat. And by far is the most effective way. And when you're also in a caloric deficit and a cutting phase, it also helps to do some cardio. I don't recommend doing marathon running. I do recommend, however, doing 30 minutes of walking or even 4 or 5 rounds of high intensity interval training known as HIIT. By doing HIIT, you're going to stimulate a lot of your cardiovascular system, and then your post energy burn, it's going to be sustained for the next 24 to 48 hours, much like doing a resistance training workout. Even after the workout is done, you're still going to be burning calories at least 24 to 48 hours after a high intensity interval training workout. An example would be doing this on an air bike or on a treadmill, or running up a hill, doing hill sprints. Those are some of the ways you can implement high intensity interval training in your program to help you accelerate the fat loss. It's only that if you do marathon training that you really run the risk of tapping into your muscles and getting into a muscular catabolic state, which of course you want to avoid at all costs possible, because it just took you so long to build that muscle. So just to sum up this video, if you're in a cut, increase your protein intake to about 40 to 45%, decrease your carbs, especially decrease your fats intake, and also do some cardio. Be very mindful of muscle catabolism and continue to lift heavy. Okay, now yes, it's going to go low, but continue to lift and go to failure even if you are in a caloric deficit. And the challenge here is you're going to be more fatigued, you're going to feel less motivated because obviously you're going to have less energy. But trust me, you do not want to lower the weight. You're going to feel weaker and you're going to feel inclination to lower the weight. Don't do it. If you have to lower the weight, lower it by no more than 5 to 10% if you can help it, okay? And if you are doing an exercise where there's a risk of you getting pinned underneath the barbell, have a spotter, have a training partner, okay? So those are the tips I have when you're transitioning from a bulking phase to a cutting phase. Give that a try and comment below. Let me know what you guys think, and let me know what your results are. So give that a try during your cutting phase, and hopefully you won't lose any muscle or burn any muscle. And I'd like to know what your results are. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. I really appreciate that. Share this video with others that might find this information helpful, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.